Hello, I'm Fred Evans. Welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. The Agricultural Reserve has become an important part of Montgomery County land use plan. Scott Fosler was on the county council that voted for the reserve. He will tell how it came to be and what the results are. Cci Health and Wellness Services has delivered health care to the residents of Montgomery County for almost 50 years. Kathleen Knolhoff, the president and CEO of Cci, will explain its growth and where it is going. Manna Food Center always responds to its regularly scheduled food distributions as well as emergencies, including a government shutdown and a weather event. Ellie Shutak from Manna will report. Women legislators from Costa Rica met with members of the League of Women Voters from Maryland to share information about elections and the needs of women in both countries. Elaine Apter, co-president of the League in Maryland, attended and has the story. Welcome to all of you. Scott, welcome. Tell us about the Agricultural Reserve, not preserve, correct?
The Agricultural Reserve of Montgomery County is a very large swath, almost 1/3 of the territory of Montgomery County.
Wow.
In the northern and western part of the county that is set aside for agriculture and for related open space uses. It's an important part of the watershed of the Chesapeake Bay. It's part of the watershed of one of our only 2 reservoirs for drinking water. It's considered to be the green lung of Montgomery County and the region because it helps to cool and cleanse the air. So it serves all of these purposes, but it's grounded in the notion that we really could preserve agriculture, which had been the traditional economic base of Montgomery County,
absolutely.
Even as we developed a high-tech and high-density, increasingly urban community.
As we continue to grow,
Yes.
in Montgomery County, population-wise especially, and businesses large and small, does this create a problem, a controversy?
It's always been an issue as to what is the best way to develop. And this idea took hold back in the 1970s when it became clear that if we didn't do something to preserve agriculture, if the county government did not take action, we would lose it all.
Wow.
And so this was the emergence of the original smart growth idea, that we could have a combination of open space for agriculture and these related open space needs, and at the same time concentrate the development in areas where we had public infrastructure such as mass transit in order to support it much more efficient.
The League has always been in support of the Ag Reserve, and we have fought against some of the pressures that have come through. But it's also kind of changing the horses. The horse industry has come in as opposed to true agriculture. Has that made a difference?
You know, it's really quite remarkable because when we set up the Agricultural Reserve, we were quite serious about having viable agriculture. We wanted farms to be able to work and to survive financially. And we were successful in being able to do that. And one way we did that was to assure that there was an openness about what kind of agricultural and related horticultural uses the Agricultural Reserve could serve. And the horse industry is one, and it's really quite remarkable the number of horses, the horse farms and that have developed in the county. It's a very diverse agricultural base. There's wool, you have sheep and llamas and alpacas.
It's amazing. I've lived here 48 years and I'm not aware of, I was aware we had that, but not aware of how much.
Well, there's about 540 farms, about 350 horticultural establishments, and there's also an organization called the Montgomery Countryside Alliance, which has been established as a citizen group that supports the farming in the area and pays very close attention when there are activities that might impede on the Agricultural Reserve and threaten to undermine it.
Yeah, is there more and more what should we say, trend to help the farmers by farmers markets and buying local farm goods?
Yes, and you know, one of the interesting trends that developed a number of years ago was the farm to table agriculture and restaurant business, and we're very fortunate
Yes,
to have this book that demonstrates that.
This is a great book that was put together by the Montgomery County Alliance group and others of the local farms. Their recipes, their little stories and essays. It's fabulous. And Manna had a part in it as well. So I'm glad to have brought it.
Yeah, and it's an example of the kind of community alliances that take place as a consequence of having the agricultural reserve. And of course, you know, one of the wonderful things is you can take your kids out to some of these farms and orchards because
Yes.
they have pick your own operations for you know, berries and apples and peaches, and at the Halloween time, pumpkins. Montgomery County is the largest county producer of pumpkins in Maryland.
I didn't know that.
You learn something new every day. That's
What percentage of the farms or the area is family owned and has been over the years? And
It's still a very substantial part of the farms of the county, and of course the farming in Montgomery County goes back several hundred years, and it was only in the middle of the 20th century that we saw this rapid change to the suburban and then the urban development, which is why the county government took the action it did to create the agricultural reserve. So that tradition has been preserved, and a substantial number of those farms are still family-owned farms.
And on that note, very, very good, thank you. And we will keep tabs on this to make sure that we maintain the reserve. I think it's a fantastic idea, my own personal opinion, of course. Ms. Knolhoff, welcome.
Hi, welcome. I mean, thank you.
Tell us about CCI
Health and Wellness
Health
Services.
and Wellness Services, thank you.
CCI started in Montgomery County, actually in Rockville, in 1969 in a small house on Fleet Street. It was run by primarily volunteers. It served the youth in that area. It was incorporated in 1972. It started growing. We moved into Gaithersburg, we moved into Silver Spring, later on into Tacoma Park. We now have 14 sites. 12 are in Montgomery County.
Providing
and 2
medical services.
providing primary care services, behavioral health, integrated behavioral health services, dental. We have the largest women, infants, and children's program, the WIC program, in the state of Maryland. We provide HIV services. We have a contract with the state for refugee health services. We take care of about 33,000 medical visits a year, medical and dental visits a year.
33,000?
And provide almost 100,000 visits. So, and then we have another 32,000 WIC participants that we take care of. But we have offices from Germantown to the northern part of Prince George's County. And we have grown dramatically, especially in the last 5 or 6 years.
How do people hear about your services?
You know, community health centers are one of the best kept secrets, I think, in the country. Because, I mean, we have been in business for almost 50 years, and we don't advertise. It's primarily word of mouth. But we take almost all insurances, including Medicaid and Medicare, a lot of commercial insurances. And you know, we just haven't had to advertise, really. We are very busy without advertising. We have more than 50 provider positions, so it's really grown very dramatically over these 50 years.
What does wellness mean?
Wellness means whole health. So, and that's what we're trying to do at CCI. It's a great question. I'm sorry I didn't plant that, because that's just perfect. And it's part of the reason that we have expanded our services over the years. So when we started out, we were just seeing primary care patients. And then we added behavioral health, and we added dental, and we added different programs for HIV and refugee health. And we have continued to try and get to the programs that are most needed for whole health of the individual.
Are there any requirements for your services, like financial or?
No, if you are uninsured, we do look at your income, and we have a sliding fee for uninsured patients. But anyone, yes, yes. In fact, a community health center is, by its very name, serving the entire community.
I'm sorry.
No.
How does this whole debate over affordable health care, how has that affected you, your organization at all?
You know, one of the things that we do, because I mentioned we serve uninsured patients as well as insured patients. And so we have to be very careful that, because we are a nonprofit, but to stay financially stable, we have to make sure that we're balancing the uninsured with the insured patients. And we do have a lot of grants. We have federal grants and state grants and foundation grants to help us provide services. We also have a large prenatal program. And so we get help from insurers like Care First, like Kaiser, that help us with our prenatal program. So that's how we do it, very carefully.
Do you do much with seniors? Because what's interesting now is fewer and fewer doctors are taking Medicare,
Well, we
and so
take
some of the
Medicare.
seniors are having trouble finding
Yes.
physicians.
We actually welcome Medicare patients. We don't have a very large population of Medicare patients. Only about 6% of our patients have Medicare, but we're happy to take Medicare patients.
Well, in about 20 seconds that remain, any final words that you'd like to tell our audience about CCI?
I think the main thing about CCI is we continue to try and find programs and services that will enhance the wellness of our community.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much. We have to take a break. We'll be right back.
Mom, can we get some ice cream? Please, Mom, please.
No, we're having dinner soon.
Please.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
For those dealing with the daily struggles of caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community with experts and other caregivers to help us better care for ourselves and the ones we love.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
back. Welcome,
Thank you.
Ms. Shutak.
Yes, I'm
Tell
here
us
from
about
Manna Food.
Manna Foods.
Manna Food Center. We work so hard to end hunger in Montgomery County, serving all residents throughout the county. And we have many programs that support that, from working with and supplying food for children to take home on the weekends through our Smart Sacks program, to working with seniors, the ever growing population in the county. And it's not just providing food, but providing healthy, nutritious food from the local farms, from the groceries, and our wonderful communities that supply our donations and funds. We work directly with our tremendous partners, and without our fabulous volunteers, we couldn't go very far. It's just
How many volunteers roughly do you have?
Oh, thousands.
Okay.
Thousands.
Okay.
So much so that when people call to offer their generous time, we have to schedule a few weeks out because we are booked. And we have to be, because we are in all parts of Montgomery County. So we not only need volunteers at our warehouse, but at our distribution centers, getting food to the students at their schools, getting the pop-up pantries and the education opportunities. We have this great bus now called Manny. It's a refurbished school bus that we can go into the communities where the folks can't get to Manna. And we can provide fresh produce and classes from the very young to the very old, and to use the produce that we can provide them, perhaps without them really knowing what they have, teaching them something new and different.
Sorry, are there areas in the county that seem to need more services than others?
Yes, we watch the data, our data that we collect, as well as the county's data, to really zero in on meeting the needs of the most needy in the county. We always say that we need to have the best products for the people, with the partners in the right places. And so we, over time, have changed our distribution sites to accommodate those needs. And we're continuing to change and expand as needed. So we're very, very busy, but we are determined to end hunger in Montgomery County.
We're in the midst of a cold spell at the present time, which
Yes.
brings to mind especially the problems of homeless folks. What does Manna do to help, help the homeless?
We supply food for anyone who contacts Manna. We have a very quick registration process, and we set appointments for folks to receive food. People are eligible to receive food, households, I should say, every 30 days. So they call us, make an appointment, and we have the food available to them. We provide the food in pre-packed boxes at some locations, and at some locations we have what we call markets or choice pantries, where participants can do their own shopping for what their needs of their households are.
Do you have accommodations for special diets and things?
We
Because, you
do.
know, diabetes. And
I'm glad you asked. We, in this pre-packed box that we provide, it's a variety of non-perishable foods, and we package that with the help of our volunteers and our donations. I mean, it's all kind of a fine-tuned process. With low sodium, low sugar products, vegetarian products, or if someone has a special medical need, we have a registered dietitian on staff who discusses their needs with the particular person.
Did you see any increased need during the shutdown, the recent government shutdown?
We were able to quickly put into action what our plan was to provide food for anyone who felt food insecure for whatever reason. And we were able to bypass some of the registration points so that we could quickly provide
Provided
food for them.
instantly. Yeah.
Yeah. And
You have
that's
about 20 seconds. Any final thoughts or?
We are very interested in having the community join us in our efforts.
Excellent.
And we welcome everyone.
Well, thank you very much. Very informative. Now we go to politics.
Right.
No, I'm just the League of Women
Left
Voters.
field.
You just had a visit from representatives from Costa Rica, correct?
Right.
Tell
They
us about
asked
that.
to meet with the League of Women Voters because they had no such organization in Costa Rica. But we learned, I think, more than they
they
did
learned.
about their elections, which is always interesting. And we've met with different legislators from and women from countries all over the world. And what's interesting is their election cycle seems to be more in common with the rest of the world as opposed to the United States. Their election cycle lasts about 5 months. The national elections are every 4 years,
Like ours. Right?
like ours, but everybody.
Right.
Now,
Oh.
our Congress, our, the
Interesting.
House is
Right.
every 2
2
years.
years, right.
So it's every 4 years. The president used to need 40% of the vote to be elected. That was changed in this last election. It's 50% of the vote. So if a candidate does not get 50% of the vote, then there's a runoff. But they have to have a majority vote.
So
in order
there's
to
more
become
than 2
president.
candidates then, is that?
Yes,
okay.
yes. And the other thing is, in that 5 months election cycle, it runs through the Christmas New Year holiday period. And during that time, there can be no electioneering. It's a holiday break. Now, a candidate can go on and wish people a Happy New Year or Merry Christmas, but no electioneering. And 5 days before the election, no electioneering
Really?
whatsoever, right? And no polls can be announced. So they want the electorate for 5 days to kind of think about what's going on and make their own decisions. So these things, and of course that also works with campaign finance. If your election cycle is 5 years instead of 2 years, 5 months
5
instead
months,
of 2 years, it's a lot cheaper. So it's very interesting. And what it is it's the parties select the candidates to run, and it has to be 50-50 women, men. So they have had women in their legislature for quite a while, and these were younger women, and they were really excited.
So that's the quote law or rule.
That's
that
the rule, that the
50
candidates up
Interesting.
have to be 50-50, but then when they're elected, it goes who gets
Okay.
the most.
Costa Rica has a long-established reputation for having a very stable political
Yes.
system. Really stands out in Central America in that
Right.
regard.
Yes.
Did you gain any insights as to why that may be the case? Does it have to do with these political institutions that you were talking
I think
about?
maybe we didn't discuss it that much, but they were very comfortable, and I agree. I think it's the idea, you have to have a president that's elected with a majority or a great percentage of the vote. And it's only every 4 years that they're elected, so they can work for 4 years and actually try to accomplish something.
Are
But-
there, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are there term limits? Or
Yes, they cannot rerun.
At all?
No.
Oh, I like that.
Yes.
Are
That's
there
interesting.
are there certain things, rules or guidelines in place that the candidates are representative of all areas of the country?
Well, they get elected by districts.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course it's a parliamentary, so there are many. It's not the two-party system.
Oh.
So you're going to get coalitions and things. But the interesting thing is, once the women were elected, once they got into office, the issues were the same as we have here.
Really?
Yes,
Gender issues?
it was, women's issues and abuse, spouse abuse,
right.
and equal pay, and some of the same things we're fighting, that it's an uphill battle for them too. So we found that very interesting. And the other thing is how they look at women. in office, which is very similar to what's here too. If you're a strong woman, you know, people go back and they say, oh, you know, she's too strong.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, as opposed to a man. And if they're weak or young, then they look at what she looks like instead of, you know, where her. So that I think was the most interesting part, is the election cycle was very different, but the issues once they got in are the same, especially with women, and that's what they're working
In
on.
the 20 seconds that remain,
Yes.
what's your biggest takeaway from this?
My biggest takeaway is when I've spoken to people in other countries too, is the frustration of our constant election cycle, and that theirs is limited, and therefore it would really solve a lot of our election problems.
Oh, that's excellent. That is excellent. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
And I think we had a wonderful show. And thank all of you for joining me this week. And thank you for joining all of us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Fred Evans. Please join us next week at this same time. Thank you.